afternoon, everyone. We're back again to talk about innovation. I think innovation is something that we have been speaking about for quite a while. And today I have with me the privilege to host and talk to Vasanthi, one of our coolest characters I've actually ever seen, even though I have to say that. Vasanthi is a VP engineering at NetApp. NetApp is literally a name that many of you are familiar with, but in case you don't, then it is a 6 billion organization which is now looking at data storage, data engineering, and actually provides that to millions of customers around the world. Vasanthi, my privilege to introduce, has a long, deep stint in both an AI and commerce, worked for a lot of companies, including Flipkart, and then at some point of time realized that there is a data challenge in the world. She's grappling with some of those data challenges, and then she decided she's got to solve it herself, and then joined NetApp. Vasanthi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here today. Good afternoon, everyone. I think my reason to join NetApp was pretty much that I had to find a leader in storage, and I wanted to be there, a part of it. Primarily because most of my endeavors with AI/ML was wrangling with data and trying to see how to get data closer to my processing or how to get data closer to some of my models. So that was my journey to NetApp. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Oh, my pleasure. Now, innovation, right? We do talk about innovation for quite a bit, right? And that's something I sometimes feel is almost like a slightly abused word, I must say, because we do talk it in different contexts, but it's so relevant in today's times. And I think what we'll do, Vasanthi, and I think genuinely is a kind of an unscripted session, right? We're just going to have fun talking about what is innovation and what your journey has been. But let's just talk about what is innovation in your view, right? What do you think, especially, we have themed it as 10x, right? So in the context of 10x, in the context of big things in the GCC, what do you think is innovation, holistic innovation?
So you're right, innovation has been the most abused word in the industry. I think primarily it's because a lot of organizations don't sit down and think of it in a very holistic manner. Even before we I think this program right now, the one that we had before the conversation, the talk by Michael Foley was amazing. I think it's a great segue to this conversation that we are having right now. When you look at holistic innovation in any organization, right, you need to understand the maturity of your organization. You need to understand what are the primary constructs in innovation. So I'm going to focus a little bit only on the IT sector today. Excuse me, because I come from an IT sector, so maybe I'll explain it better with an IT sector. If you look at it, there is an existing technology and there's an existing market. There are a lot of opportunities to keep working in this existing technology and existing market. And that's a place where you get a lot of frugality, either in your optimizations, in your way you do efficiently, in the total cost of ownership of your product. So you can spend a lot of time and energy in working in that area. And those are all innovations. They are not something that is wrong. So constantly improving your customer experience, incrementally making sure that you are adding value to your customer by finding new techniques or new processes. All of this come as a part of your innovation. And many times, organizations focus in that part. It does give you an X factor. There's no question about it. And many times, your domain experts in the industry who work with you, who are a part of your employment force that's been there with you for a long time, are the right people to focus on this. And the right way to do that is via hackathons or by making sure that you give the space for them sometimes to work on certain topics or problem solving, right? And the second thing is when you really look at new technology that is out there and you want to implement it on your markets, right? That's where you try to become disruptive in the place where you are. Nowadays it's Gen AI, and a lot of people are trying to see how they can take to their customer a Gen AI solution, which actually makes their life much more simpler and easier. Disruptive technologies always give you a big boost in your revenue, right? They normally are areas where you want to put your most talented people, subject matter expertise, because they are adept in using new technologies, and they also understand your customer base very well. But the most important thing is something that actually we saw before was like in the design part of it, where there was innovation in taking something that was a wearable on the wrist to becoming a wearable on the fingers, right? Now you may wonder how it changes. It gets a completely new market. It gets a market of sports people. It gets a market of people who are very active in their work and really would not like to have like some sort of equipment on their hand, right? So the third part is when you are actually having an existing technology, but you're trying to find new markets. You're trying to find ways in which you can evolve. That's where your design, your implementation of your whole product changes. So if you focus on these three quadrants, you definitely get like three different types of boosts that you get in your overall revenue, in your efficiency part. And there's almost a fourth quadrant, which is new technology and new markets completely. That's where the radical thinking comes into. And those are the industries that make a total big leap in their whole process. So when you as a leader want to sit down and think about innovation, you need to understand who's the right audience to put in the right quadrant, what is it that you want to focus on, and being able to engage in the right activities, whether it is in hackathons when you're working internally, or whether it is in actually having partnerships like Academia Connects and others, where you get into deep research on a technology to implement, or it is like seeking external help when you really want to talk about different ways of implementing. We did see in the last presentation that it was so diverse. It was Royal Challengers to actually Big Basket to something else, right? The ability to diversify, the ability to understand a wider customer base, you need to reach out externally and try to see how you can get that innovation culture in.
Beautifully said. So intuitively, innovation seems like a very creative kind of an approach, right? You can get ideation from anywhere, you can get sparks from anything, you can go and build out things, but it still then requires a framework to then harness that creativity, right? So the quadrant approach that we spoke about, but the diversity and innovation and the ability to kind of collaborate and bring multiple people together and then make something out of that creativity really appeals to us. Now, let's come back to NetApp itself, right? And I think NetApp has now done a tremendous job with respect to innovation. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the NetApp innovation journey? How has it been for you?
So NetApp has always been this organization that thinks one step ahead of its customer, right? So when we had a file and we had like a block storage and we had customers, when we listened to our customers, we realized that they need to have two different ways to manage stuff. I think way before we were having one unified way of putting file on block, and then we got to an object onto the part of it. So we went to a part of optimization which made our customers' life very easy. Then way before most of the consumers even thought about it, we started thinking about situations where customers have got storage on-premise, they have got on the cloud, and they have these hybrid journeys. So we thought about an evolved cloud ecosystem. And we came up with solutions which will help in data mobility across these. Started thinking about new workloads which will help the customers with respect to AI, ML, and stuff. So NetApp is this journey of like looking forward, always making sure that we are one step ahead. And our journey has been in that quadrant where we try to optimize, make our products much more smarter, and also in the disruptive part of it, right? So these are the two areas we are primarily focusing in when it comes to it. And at the third level, when we really want to extend and understand what the other areas are, how do we understand what are the new business problems? I think we are working with Zinnov, like organizations like Zinnov, trying to see how we can get more startup culture in, understand what are some of the new problems. There's no better way to understand new problems than to look at the startup ecosystem. Because there are people, each and everyone, trying to look at a very siloed product, and a very siloed problem statement and working on it. So I think that's the place where we work with Zinnov in the accelerator part to get there. So NetApp's journey has been a holistic journey. And I'm very proud to say that we have been extremely successful in a lot of these areas.
And likewise, I think we are very proud of the work that we do with NetApp. I think one of our, really when I look back at, when I asked our colleagues in terms of, can you tell me about how the journey with NetApp has been in the innovation piece, and they just reeled off in terms of what they did, and I think we were very proud of it as well. You know, just so that we know, and innovation is not something that just happens just like that. So this has been something about 6 years in the making. So NetApp and Zinnov has been working since 2017. started off as a very open innovation program that's really focusing towards deep tech, but it also was initially a curriculum-based one, right? If you remember, but that quickly moved on and it went into a POC-led program as such. And then what was essentially an India program then went on to become a global program, right? So in a way, the innovation journey also kind of evolves over a period of time,
Correct.
right? We start off with something, we build on it, and then we go, okay, so taste some success with it, go involve more associates and employees, run some pilots, look at some experts, turn it global, right? So we are like super delighted to have participated in the journey, and we still feel we're just getting started, right?
Absolutely. I think it's been equally a good partnership. That's how I would put it in, right? For us, we really look at it like getting us a completely new perspective on what are all the problems people are solving. And it gives us an opportunity. I think you missed a point. I think the most important thing is it also gives us a lot of diversity. Like we work on getting women-only startups so that we can work with them. And that's also one of the NetApp things that we are very proud to say that we are a D&I organization.
Sure.
And we like to work with a lot of women startups too. And in the past 7 years, at least I have been in this journey for the past 3 years now, we have evolved from just being like getting startups and mentoring them to actually taking these products into production within NetApp too, making sure that they understand what it is to work with a large enterprise customer like NetApp. Right? So we give this opportunity, and in turn, we understand like what are some of the ways in which the new problems are solved, and where can we actually fit our solution in these problem spaces.
Right. So I think that whole working with startups and so on, and we're still getting started, right?
Correct.
So where do you think this is going to go towards? Where do you think this will all evolve, and how do you find the next few years looking for you?
So a lot of these startups today, right, they have an idea, they work on a business model, and they want to go and work with it, right? The go-to-market strategy, actually making it enterprise-ready, and also making sure that it's a part of an overall solution. These are the places where I think the startups need some mentoring in. And for NetApp perspective, I think where we would like to take this as a next step is, how does this become a part of our overall solution we sell to our customers? How do we make sure that, along with the NetApp product, I can give an added value depending upon the vertical in which we are trying to sell the product? Whether it is in finance, whether it is for the medical sector, whether it is for the media sector, NetApp products are in all of these verticals. And there are siloed solutions that the startups come up with for each of these sectors. So how do we actually create a package solution that's a win-win for both? I think that's the next step in our journey with Excellerator.
Awesome. So this morning we saw, right, and we did some research work as well, and we saw that, we've got 1,700 GCCs or more in India today, but less than 20% of them have actually a startup program. Very few of them actually have an innovation funding which is greater than 2 million, right? We spoke about that as well. I'm sure there are organizations out here listening to us that's saying, okay, I think we need to go back and start really thinking about having an innovation program, right? And that could be an internal innovation with just associates and hackathons and so on, or it could be a broader open innovation with academia, startups and so on, regardless. But what would be your words of advice to some of them who are starting off? How do we think, what should there be, how should they go even present their case? How should they even start going about kicking off an innovation program? What would that be?
So I'll circle back to my first thought process, first answer, right? I think you need to know where your problems are. And you need to think holistically. So you have, and it's also a resource thing. You might be a small company or a big company, but you have a lot of priorities that you need to deliver, either to grow or to keep your stakeholders and your shareholders, all of them happy, right? So you cannot really start deviating your resources, and no one has got infinite resources to work on problems. So look at it in a 3-step process. Maybe if you have ability to use your resources, give 5% of their time or 10% of their time to work on problem statements which you would love to solve, but are not able to prioritize, that's the best step for innovation. Next is, if you really have deep subject matter areas where you think that a couple of your teams can be supplemented, but you really cannot put that time and energy into it, you work on an Academia Connect. We have abundance of technology and subject matter expertise in our universities, right? And they are more than happy to work with you. but you need to find the right university, right? For example, right now NetApp is working with the Indira Gandhi Women's University, and we are working on an pattern detection algorithm for using in AI/ML for anti-ransomware, right? It's a great collaboration that we are working on right now. So you need to figure out how you can supplement your subject matter expertise with what is there in academia. And the third thing is, if you really have a problem statement that you would like to work, but you really don't know, that you don't have the resource or you don't have the subject matter expertise, you can look out into the startup world. There might be somebody who's working, and there's a great opportunity for merger, right? There's a great opportunity for you to get talent, and there's also an opportunity for you to very quickly see if you can package that as a solution and not build it in-house.
Brilliant. Right. So it's a great piece of advice in terms of how do we think we can get started off in terms of innovation, how do we build a business case for it. The other thing that I do think of, Vasanthi, is, we do have to align with respect to the problems that we are trying to solve.
Yes.
Right? So do latch on to some of the larger problems that we are trying to solve. So let's not do innovation for the sake of innovation. We probably have to look at saying, okay, do we have a product vision that the product is moving towards?
Sure.
Do we have an organizational problem that we want to necessarily solve? And then go and say, okay, can we solve that in a different way? Right? Can we solve that using innovation? Are there solutions out there that we can bring in? Then I think the organization itself will rally behind you in terms of saying, okay, that's a problem that we can solve. So we can identify those problem statements. Use the word problem statements.
Yes.
Right, to find those use cases in a way.
Correct. So I think, again, the 3 quadrants very much should align with your business. Only then you see a lot of value. I think we are all here for making sure that we get that 10x, we get that value out of what we are doing. There is a radical quadrant where if you have enough resource, time, and space, and people to do it, when I talk about resource, it's both people and money. And if you're able to do it, that's a sector where you can go. Very few organizations today have that amount of money and expertise to fork out and say, here's my research wing, go ahead and do it, right? So, but if you have that privilege, I think it's a great place to put in. A lot of best innovations have come out with people thinking radically. And it has created a much larger impact, not just next to your organization, but to the entire human population itself, right? So you need to focus and align and figure out where you want to spend. That's why I said the maturity of the organization.
Right. So the last question that I have, in a way, 2-part question, right? With innovation, we often use the term fail fast, right? We do talk about having to try, but also having persistence, having resilience, because you might fail fast, but fail multiple times,
True.
right? Any experiences around creating those POCs, failing fast, but at the same time, keeping the faith, right? Keeping the faith in terms of continuing to run those programs.
You have to actually figure out at every step, validate your thinking process.
Yep.
There is nothing like saying that, okay, I'm going to build a rocket ship and I'm just going to keep doing it till when the day I'm going to press a button to launch.
Yes.
So there are these incremental steps that you need to keep working on. You need to make sure that you're achieving those steps, and you need to gain confidence in what you're doing.
Yep.
Why? Because this is not a proven track. It's not like a place where somebody already knows your problem statement, understands it really well, knows the solution out, and gets there. It's a place where you're saying that, okay, I know the problem statement, but I don't know how to solve it. I'm going to try it iteratively. So the most important process in innovation is agility. And if you fail fast, you learn fast, and you are able to do course correction very fast too.
Absolutely. Brilliant. So that was exactly what it is, right? So hopefully those insights will help you go ahead and either kickstart an innovation program within your organization, or it will help you then accelerate it. But then there are so many different things you could do. Work with startups, looking at internal innovation, there's academia partnerships that you could run, validate your innovations, put that into a quadrant model, create a structure, get some funding, and may the force be with you.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I'd just like to close with this, right? When you start doing incrementally, creating different solutions and innovations around, you will end up that you have like a fully packaged solution that your customer is very pleased about. Like again, in NetApp, we are like the intelligent data infrastructure company. And what we mean by that is for anything with data, we are able to give you a solution that works for. So when you look at the end goal, you're able to actually cover an entire 360-degree view of how your customer needs a product, and that's where innovation is.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karthik.
Ladies and
Appreciate
gentlemen,
it.